Okay, so Harstem, the captain himself, thanks so much for coming out. I really appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad to be interviewed.
So you were a Warcraft 3 player like way back when. Did you consider yourself a pretty high-level player?
No, it was pretty bad.
Okay.
I was a very poor Warcraft 3 player. I liked it, but back then I probably thought I was good, but knowing now how good you can be at a game, I was bad.
Fair enough. It's nice to have like insight looking back. Do you think skills from that game helped you transition to StarCraft at all?
I think there's some base skills that help transition, but I don't know. The game was so much slower than StarCraft 2, and because I was so bad at it, or well, I wasn't very good at it, I think most of the things I got in StarCraft 2 weren't from Warcraft 3.
Did you play any Brood War prior to Warcraft?
I never played any Brood War, no.
Fair enough. So you found a lot of success in the YouTube space with your StarCraft content. Why do you think it's been so successful for you?
Because I think I'm relatively consistent with my output, which helps. Most of the time when you do something for a very long period of time, rather consistently, you'll find some level of success in it. I think there's a little bit of luck involved where YouTube isn't necessarily like if you make the greatest content, you're gonna get big. And I think sometimes things just get recommended randomly, and that happened to me a couple of times on the correct videos. So I think it's a little bit of luck and then consistent effort putting in, and you're gonna most of the time get pretty okay results with that.
Would you say your skill level is like comparable now to how it was a couple years ago, or like are you putting in the time that you were before?
I think my skill level is fairly similar. I think right now we have a couple of players that are just a lot better than what we had back in the day. I'm mainly thinking of Serral, Raynor. It's just when I'm thinking of like the foreign scene, I'm thinking of Serral and Raynor and Clem, but really mainly Serral and Raynor as the players that, these are guys that you need an extremely good day to beat them, and they need an extremely bad day to lose to you. And a combination of those two factors most of the time. So it's difficult to say.
At Atlanta, you were able to take games off of players like Bunny, Trigger, Sue. I mean, you took a series off of, who was it? Yeah, off of Sue, right? Were you surprised by results like that, or did you feel like it was consistent with how you were feeling?
I think taking games in series is always possible, but it doesn't mean that much if you can't keep it up consistently throughout a tournament or over a longer period of time. So I think I've always been capable of doing that type of stuff. I don't think that has changed very much.
So the recent balance changes have been a topic of kind of heated debate. Do you have a lot of strong feelings on them?
I don't have too many strong feelings on the balance changes. I think they were relatively mild. They didn't necessarily all achieve what I think we wanted them to achieve necessarily, but overall I think it made the game slightly better. One of the problems that I see a little bit is that I think it came at the same time as a map pool change, which makes it very difficult to understand where the results come from, because I think the maps actually have a bigger influence on the results than most people think.
That makes sense. Is there a Zerg Cabal?
Yes, but I'm not a part of it yet.
You haven't been mind controlled?
No.
So what are some suggestions you have for Terran and Zerg players they could do to be more honorable?
Zerg and Terran players to be more honorable? It starts by switching to a race that has some honor in it. And there's only one out of the three that has it. And you're not playing either. So the only way to be good is to switch away, is what I'm saying.
Fair enough. How do you feel about the health of the EU SC2 scene at the moment?
The health of the StarCraft 2 scene in Europe, I think, is difficult for me to say. I think we used to have worse high-level players, but slightly more depth. And now it feels like we have better high-level players and slightly less depth when it comes to the amount of professional players that we have. So I guess that is probably not a great sign. I think having a very deep scene of people that are relatively similar skilled and put in a lot of effort is probably a good thing. So if I compare it to 5 years ago, I'd say we're slightly worse off, despite the European results on an international level being better.
That's very insightful. Who do you feel like are the up-and-coming players in the EU? Do you think there are any European players that aren't getting as much attention as they deserve?
No, I think everyone that is good gets the attention they deserve. I don't think there's any hidden gems, and if they are, people will start realizing it soon, because yeah, they'll start posting better results or get very high up on the ladder. If there's one player that has come over the past 6 to 12 months that I think might have some more potential, would actually be Trigger, who is not a European. But yeah, I can't think of anyone else really.
That makes sense. So what are your thoughts and feelings on Stormgate at this point?
No real thoughts or feelings on Stormgate. I haven't played the game. I haven't seen actual high-level games either, so it's impossible for me to say something on that.
Do you think if Stormgate's successful, we're going to see a lot of high-level StarCraft players move over to it?
I think Stormgate is, by most players, considered to be StarCraft 3. So if it lives up to the expectations of a StarCraft 3, I think almost everyone will switch over.
Are there any other games other than StarCraft that you put any time into?
No, not really.
Anything you play for fun?
Played a game called Escape Room, where you have to escape out of a room.
Fair enough.
That's it.
Who's your favorite active pro to watch play?
I like watching Hero. He's very aggressive, plays very fast. So yeah, definitely Hero.
Who do you think is the biggest innovator in general right now in the StarCraft scene? Who's making the builds?
I think that differs per race. I think if you're looking at Terran, you might want to think of like a Special or a Gumiho as like builds that are further out there. I think when you have Protoss, you have Hero, Astrea. These are people that try to innovate as much as possible. I think MaxPax tends to not be as innovative, but he really kind of sharpens his build orders that he already has. So he'll have something and he'll make it better, I think, over a very long period of time. So yeah, it's always difficult to say, but I think those names are accurate at least. And Zerg players, they don't really have to think. I mean, that race plays itself.
Fair enough. So the last thing I was kind of curious about, so what's it like been working with TLO? Obviously, you're working with him really directly. How is that?
TLO got me into TL, I'm pretty sure. And then afterwards, he got me to Shopify. And I've known him for a long time before that already as well. So yeah, I enjoy spending time with him and I enjoy working with him. He's a very pleasant person to be around. So yeah, nothing bad there. No smoking guns.
Awesome, man. Well, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time. It's been awesome talking to you. Any closing words?
Shout out to Shopify Rebellion and thank you for interviewing me.
Sweet. Thank you, man.